Welcome to Well Played Podcast, a show on all things playful and joyous in education. Well Played is a part of the On Podcast Media Network. I'm your host, MrMatera, sixth grade teacher, author, and motivational speaker. Today's show is Playful Pantones with Carrie Baughcum. I'm super excited to be jamming out with her today. And Carrie, before we get started, can you introduce yourself? Let the Well Played audience sort of hear your background for all of our new listeners, because Carrie has been on the show a bunch, so our old listeners definitely know who you are.
Yes, I'm happy to be back. It's been a while. I am Carrie Baughcum. I'm a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade special education teacher in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and I'm also the author of My Pencil Made Me Do It, A Guide to Sketchnoting.
That's super awesome. Your
Yes.
book came out and people are loving it. I mean, it's obvious people should love it because you wrote it. You're so fun. And you did all the illustrations in it, of course.
I did.
We will have a link to Carrie's book down in the show notes, so definitely pick up a copy of My Pencil Made Me Do It. It is a fabulous, fun read that also, one of my faves, gives practical tips, right? I mean, that's just something that drives me nuts with some education books that just blather on and on and on about why you should do something, but doesn't tell you necessarily how to do it. So I really appreciate that practical angle. Let's dive in. Let's talk about these creative Pantones. Carrie and I sort of talked before the show. We don't want anybody to think that we're limiting the show to only talking about colors. It was more my overwhelming desire to have an alliteration for a title, in which we kept the title Playful Pantones, because this whole episode is just about kind of that sort of fun lightheartedness, but also powerful pedagogy that comes from drawing and the unlocking of that sort of creative element of your mind through drawing. And I guess, Carrie, take it away. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, tell us a little bit what you see on the ground from your years of using sort of drawing with your students and with your own children.
Well, I mean, I'm happy that you brought up my own children, because they're probably the only reason I can think of that drawing even re-entered my life. Going into my 30s, before I had children, I don't remember the last time I picked up a pencil, drew, thought I was a good drawer, thought that drawing had any value. I might have even thought that I knew creative arts classes and things like that were good for kids, but to really understand the real value of what they could bring to students really started with my own children. And it started with them drawing at the kitchen table, and I would be making dinner or folding laundry, and they would have these elaborate drawings that they would create even before they could spell words or write sentences. And I would ask them about what they had drawn, and they would go on in these long, elaborate stories all about this single drawing. And it didn't take long for me to realize that if I wanted to spend time with my children, I had to put pencil to paper and draw with them, because it became our love language. So laying on the floor on our bellies, drawing together, sharing stories, and connecting in these moments that drawing gave us really became really, really special. And it didn't take long for me to start to realize the more I drew, the happier it made me, the more I loved it. It filled up this part of me that I never knew was missing, and I never knew needed to be filled up. And so I drew and I started sharing out some of my drawings. And at one point, a teacher friend of mine was like, "Oh my gosh, Carrie, that's an awesome sketch note." And I'm like, "A what?" Because I just drew a story with pictures on it about a trip to the mall on Christmas Eve, which was a crazy adventure. Because who goes shopping at the mall on Christmas Eve? I do, actually.
I was going to say, I think actually there are lots of people that do that last minute shopping.
There are.
You are not the only one, for sure.
No, but it's the adventure had ensued, and I drew a story about it, and somebody shared with this word called sketchnoting, and I had no idea what it was. And so I went and I researched what it was, and it was interesting to me, and I thought about it and started to see, wanted to dive more into what this idea of drawing with words and pictures was, because that's what my girls and I had been doing for years on our bellies, in the living room, drawing with pictures and words, but there was a specific name for it. And so I would go online and see all these pictures, and they were beautiful, right? They're just stunning drawings by artists of wonderful displays of information in words with pictures. And so our state conference came up, and I decided that I was going to try to do that. I was going to sit and listen to the keynote, and I was going to listen to what they said and draw what they did. And so I took my pencil out and put it on my paper. And I share this whole experience in my book because it was a huge learning curve for me, because the thing that a lot of us face, and I think, Michael, we've talked about this just as friends, is when it comes to putting pencil to paper, the first thing we have to get past as educators or as adults is that negative voice in our head that says we can't draw, we don't know how to draw, we can't even draw a stick figure. And so I had to, in that moment of my very first sketch note, or at least that's, doing it live, it was getting past all this negativity in my head. And it really gave me a really powerful experience of trying something new and living in that uncomfortableness, and getting through it. And so as time went on and I learned to love even more this process of sketchnoting, it took me a good probably 4 years before I ever brought it into my classroom. I was certain that my students that needed assistive technology or needed speech to text or had OT services, I was sure that they were never going to be able to draw, let alone listen to the words, imagine in their head, and draw. I mean, they were reading 2 to 3 years below grade level. So, but it just kept nagging at me, like, you have to try it, Carrie, you have to try it. And so one reading lesson, I just decided just to dive right in and take what I had experienced at that conference and with my children and what I had been learning about sketchnoting and bring it into my classroom. We started with a story and we read a paragraph, and I go, okay, you guys, what do you imagine when I read that paragraph? What movie's playing in your head? And there was like crickets, nothing. And I was like, okay, now what am I supposed to do? But as time went on, I would model and think out loud, like, I'm imagining this picture, the person has this kind of hair, and the kids would all copy, what I had been drawing, until eventually I call it the going rogue moment. I had a student who decided that they weren't going to draw what I drew on the board. And it was just amazing. And from that one rogue moment, everything changed about my views of drawing, the power that it has on our students and their ability to, connect it to learning, and the power that it has in learning. And we've never looked back as my classrooms never look back. We draw for as much as we need to. And with each new experience drawing brings me, I realize more and more that, yes, it is about putting your pencil to your paper, but I realize more and more that it's more about me drawing with them, me being vulnerable with them, me sharing this common experience with them and creating moments and memories together, and also giving everybody in the classroom permission to feel uncomfortable, but also to be brave and to be there together. And that is what, after 6 or 7 years of doing this in my classroom, that's the biggest thing that I never thought drawing with my kids would ever do.
Yeah, you definitely shared quite a bit in that story, so I'm going to unpack
Sorry.
some of it. No, that's all right, but I definitely want to explore some of the themes you really laid out there. And one of the first ones you did was you talked about those inner demons we have to fight, and like, what a great lesson that can be had by all of us by just taking that pencil out, because that's what our students face every day, right?
Right.
We're constantly asking them to try something they haven't done, something that's just out of their reach. But as adults, we tend to stay within our comfort zone. We tend to do what we can do. And I think unlocking that sort of growth potential that we all have by choosing to step up and try something and fight beyond that demon. That's so cool to hear you say that, drawing does that. And it so does. We all tell ourselves, like, I can't draw. I'm like that person over there. They're creative. Like, I don't draw.
Right.
Right. And you and I, like you said, we talk about that in terms of games, that every time like people sit down to play games, I shouldn't say everybody, but the vast majority of people have kind of a stigma of games. And I'm not referring to like the nerdy stigma. I'm talking about the, like, they don't want to look stupid. So they sit down and like there's an instant uncomfortable as you go over the rules. They're like, I don't know, you were saying about the dice and the people and then the this, and then you can trade that. You kind of lost me. And you're like, you're an accountant or you're like a CEO at some bit. Like, I taught you like 4 rules. Like, you got this. Like, let's just trust that like after a turn or two, it'll make sense. Yes, you had to listen to 20 minutes of rules and maybe your eyes glazed over, but I'm pretty certain you got this if we just move forward.
Right.
But yeah, there's that inner demon. Like, we don't want to look dumb. We don't want to not perform at our top level. So what a great lesson for us that we can do by just saddling up next to our kids and drawing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you see the freedom that my daughter is. She's 9 now, and like she's at this interesting age with drawing. And you can see she's lost the full freedom that she had
Uh-huh.
when she was, say first grade, somewhere between first, second grade in there. She lost that full freedom, but yet she still has the confidence to try things. Like there isn't a full stigma, but it isn't like there used to be unwarranted confidence she used to
Yes.
have. Like,
Yes.
right? Like she wasn't a great artist, but she's like, look what I drew. It was so fantastic. And like, well, but then at the same time, like, I don't want her to be at the level that you described in your story where it's like, well, I can't do this.
It's hard, right? At her age, I guess, I remember talking to some educators at Camp Madison, and we had a really, for me, it was kind of an epiphany. I was talking to a teacher who supported younger students, and it really made me realize that for Mila and kids younger than her, our job as educators is to continue to let them see the benefits and power in drawing, to never let them lose that love of drawing, right? Always having that constant dialogue in their head that tells them that they can do it. It is a powerful thing to do. It is a powerful connector. There are, Wendy Pillar says, ideas over, ideas not art. No, that's not right. That's Mike Rohde. Ideas not art. And then Wendy Pillar says, process over pretty. So like just remembering, not losing that inner dialogue of that there is power in our drawings, and that's where Mila is, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's so true for so many categories, right? We have to remember that like playfulness doesn't equal like not important. Like, right?
Right.
Like it's not the side thing. It can be the thing.
Right.
So,
And also, I think also taking playfulness and not predetermining where you could only be playful. Like you can only be playful in gym.
that's right.
We don't always only draw in art class. If playfulness becomes a more universal language and drawing becomes a more universal skill that we apply to more settings, then the idea of it being only for artists or only for gamers goes away, and instead it becomes a powerful part of our lives that we can find great joy in, right?
Yeah, like imagine any other category of education if we shoehorned it only into one place. Like, right?
Only
If we say,
reading.
yeah, like that's right. Like you're not going to read it all anywhere else. And I don't want to see you write anything outside of English language arts. Like that'd be ridiculous. Do not do that. Right? So like no, like realizing that the real life is messy. There's that picture, right? Where like school is all the like cans of paint or whatever, but then real life is just that canvas of all the mixed colors.
Right.
And here as we talk about these playful Pantones, like getting drawing out there. And I love your point too about laying on your bellies with your own kids on the floor, and how powerful that is in your life, because I think it is what puts you in a position to have that woman describe sketchnoting to you, and you say like, I'm gonna look that up, and then precipitate all the way down to you writing a book, right? Like, I mean, but you wouldn't have been in the space to care, like, right? If somebody told somebody else like what you're doing right now is sketchnoting, it may not have led to all of that. But the fact that you remained sort of playful and drawing with your own kids for so long, you were at that right point in your life when that person said it.
True.
To take you down that rabbit hole. And I think the rest of us are super glad that you did. Right?
I am too. I am really glad.
So, all right. So as we're talking about playful Pantones, I also wanted to like ask you some questions about things that our viewers could sort of do right away, like either in their own life or in their classroom. Mm-hmm. Now, I want you, I mean, Carrie is like the nicest human being and super modest. So I'm going to put her on the spot. You offer some things that people could do on your YouTube channel.
I do.
Will be linked down below.
I do. There are a lot of resources on my YouTube channel. The first thing that comes to mind is my daughter Annabeth, who is 13. She and I host it started off as a weekly chat, and now that we're in the middle of lockdown pandemic, it's now a bi-weekly YouTube live show that we do called Doodle and Chat, and we have a topic that we pull from what we call our Ish Bowl, because everything's just ish, because I'm never it started off with me never being on time, so we made the time for
I love this.
Doodle
I
and
love
Chat
this.
9:33 ish,
33
because
ish.
I'm never on time, so we decided to like cut our losses and never be on time. So we have a topic that
Which makes you on time, actually.
I know.
So
right?
ironically, you're always on time by not being on time.
True. Very true. So we have a topic per season. Like this season, we're doodling and chatting all about different abstract nouns. And then on Wednesday nights, we have the Doodle and Chat at 6:33-ish. And we're doing more family-friendly topics. This right now, we're working our way through colors.
All of these times, by the way, are Central Standard Time.
Thank you, Michael. So it's just a really fun time for people to come and join us, put their pencil to paper, connect with an amazing group. We call them our Doodle and Chat family, because they're just really amazing and safe, to just come and explore the pencil and have connections with people and draw. There's also resources on my YouTube channel for just sketchnoting, taking you from the very beginning.
Now I'm going to slow you down.
Okay.
Because this is like
you turned it on.
No. This is great. This is all what I want. However, this is secondhand to you. So you are running through it like an uncomfortable 7th grader giving their 2-minute speech that they condense down to 30 seconds because they don't want to be up in front of everybody. This is your modesty coming out. So let's slow down. We have your Doodle and Chats,
which is on YouTube Live, correct?
So people, you go to Carrie's YouTube, and right there, smack in your face, will be like live now or starting soon, and you're going to click that, and you're going to watch her and Annabeth pull out of this Ish Bowl, which is super awesome. They put in all these like little ideas of what they could draw, and this season, it's abstract nouns. They pull it out, and it is so lovely. It's like you're kind of having coffee with some old friends. It's like you got us at the table there with you, and we're just across the table, and happens to be across the internet/table, but we are right there with you drawing, and it's so fun. You have built a wonderful community of people that come each week, and I would say it's growing each week. So people, seriously, check it out. It is relaxing. It is fun. It is relational. And in these times, we need a bit of that little therapy. So, check that out.
Yes, check it out.
Then you were saying there's a little family friendly at 6:33-ish
p.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesday nights. We have it. We decided once we got in the lockdown to bring another day to the Doodle and Chat, and it's only, we've just been overwhelmed with the amount of response to that too, that people just, on Wednesday night, after it's generally a lot of educators, on a Wednesday night, you're kind of hitting that hump, but everybody, comes together, and we put pencil to paper, and we fill our paper with images and words about that color, and everybody walks away happier than they started. There's just something really playful and happy, and we get memories and moments all, through a camera, and drawing together, which is awesome. It's, amazing.
That's fantastic. So we got to check that out as well. These, like I said, they're great spaces and super fun. And then, as like the next round here, because you were rattling it off super fast. I don't know if these people heard it. So then her YouTube channel also is filled with all sorts of little, I'm just going to call them little like PD vignettes, right? That can like teach you little bite-sized things about sketchnoting, about drawing, about containers, about gamification. And people already know that about you too. So definitely like worth a stop. And tell them what a subscription to YouTube costs. Like if they wanted to subscribe to your channel, what is the price tag of hitting that subscribe button?
They just have to press the button. That's the only subscription.
Like, like I don't work out. I'm kind of like that nerdy gamer sitting around a table, like haven't seen the outside for a long time. And that's all I got to do is just push the little button with my finger. I think I have that kind of strength in my hand. So everybody, seriously, but check her channel out, and it is just a treasure trove of fun things that will both educate you, but also like I said, it's like fun, active things you can do together with your family, by yourself, with your friends. FaceTime your friend and both be doing this together. In this crazy time that we're in right now, schedule a like play date. That's what my daughter and I are going to do next weekend, and we're going to do a little play date and watch Doodle and Chat and doodle together, and they'll be FaceTiming together as we're
Fun.
watching the channel. So,
Awesome.
people, let's do this.
Well, and they don't have to be there. If they miss the time, they're always recorded and stored on YouTube Live. And Annabeth and I also say you're never late for Doodle and Chat. You're just ish, right? So
Nice.
uh,
Look at this. You're so creative.
I try. So they're always there for you to look at. And then, I mean, if you really want to dig into the archives of my YouTube channel and you're an educator looking for things as we get longer into this extended e-learning, kind of, mixing up lessons or offering some choices. I think, has it been a year, for 2 or 3 years, both of my children and I did something called the Idea Flood Sketchnote Challenge. And there was
I loved the idea.
There's 3
challenge.
years, like we did one a month for I think 3 years, and we take everything you can think about this topic and flood your paper with images and words all about that topic, and they're already done. They're under 5 minutes. They're easy to put out there for your students. And actually, Michael, because this is the first time I'm saying this, last time I talked to both of my children, we're thinking of reviving it for May so that teachers can have
I
some
would love it. That was
content to put out to their classrooms as choices,
So I will say, as a Idea Flood early adopter, I'll say I was an
Yes.
OG
Yes.
member of the Idea Floods. My daughter and I loved it. What I also liked about it is it really embraces your ish because it's all asynchronous. It is a video that was put out that gave us a month to be like, all right, and as a parent, single parent, sometimes I'm looking for things to just sort of put a feather in the back of my mind that hey, so when my daughter and I are doing some stuff and we have some downtime and it's like, what should we do? What should we do? I don't want to watch television. Let's do that Idea Flood. I like this month's, Idea Flood is blank. All right. And then my daughter and I cuddle up on the couch and for 5 minutes watch you and your kids sort of share out this idea in a fun, irreverent sort of way sometimes. And then we bust out the crayons and stuff and start drawing, and she's talking and I'm talking. She's looking at my flood. I'm looking at her flood. And then we post it and send it to you. But that can happen. Like I said, that can happen 2 weeks into the month. Right? That doesn't have to be this day on this time. And so did I love those. They were so awesome to do with my daughter. And that's the other thing that I love about drawing and creativity. Like in our digital world and now in our digital online learning, there's a wholesomeness to just, being an adult and busting out crayons, colored pencils, markers, whatever, and truly sinking your teeth into an art project with your child.
And it's inexpensive, right? It's a pencil and paper, a pen and paper, and like what you said too about the feeling connection. There is a biological connection to us putting pencil to paper. As soon as I put pencil to paper, there's a calm that comes over us. It's a tool that teachers use all the time for student regulation because drawing is a calming tool. It also focuses us, it centers us, it turns on a different side of the part of our brain and activates both sides of our brain. So we're highly engaged when we're doing it. If you've ever drawn with your students in the classroom, you'll find this silence that comes over everything, right? When all of a sudden they start to concentrate and there's this calm. And biologically, as humans, we love visuals and we love to look at them. Our brain loves to see them. So the connections and the research behind the power of these, it just becomes more and more evident that this is a good tool to have in all classrooms.
Yeah, we should be challenging ourselves to think about ways to add it to our lives. But, as educators, we are also the gatekeeper of experiences for our students. And this is one that we should just blow the gates open and let in that creative drawing element. And it's not that hard to do. We can start simply, right? I'm sure you have plenty of tips, so I don't want to belabor the point, but, even just adding a drawing box to a question, even if that's all you did to start with, but start thinking about ways you can add those drawing boxes, and then you'll build from there, and eventually maybe you will have sketch notes for all your assignments. Who knows? But begin. begin. Let this one come through the gate.
Agreed. Yeah. All you need to do is put the pencil to the paper. How that looks like in your classroom, how you choose to do it is up to you. I say all the time that there are no rules. We take in information with our eyes and our ears, and we connect those words with an image in our head that we imagine, and we draw the image out and we write it in words, and that is sketchnoting. However that looks in your classroom, whether it's a doodle in the margin of a page or a post-it note that, post-it notes that build on your desk, or an elaborate sketch note. There are no rules when it comes to sketchnoting. It's just a matter of putting pencil to paper and really tapping into that visual part of your brain. Or even in this point too, if people are hesitant to try the drawing aspect because they're not with their students, even just when we're interacting with our students, being more intentional about the questions that we're asking. Okay, so we're learning about ancient Greece. But Michael, what do you imagine the person from ancient Greece looks like? If you imagine them in your head, what do you see? And then why do you think that they're wearing those things? So asking questions that are going to force our students to activate that part of their brain, even in conversation or through questions that we might add, is going to be a powerful tool that we can start to build until we're ready to have our students start drawing.
That's an awesome tip, right? Just activating that same spot on the brain, and then that will eventually, as the months go on, lead towards a safety net when you ask them all of a sudden to draw. And they don't even know that you're building that safety net, but you are by activating that. I love it. So we are almost at reflection time. We're not there yet, but I want to get one more thing in here, and that is, Carrie, you do travel and present and do some professional development at conferences as well as districts. I happen to do that as well. I have traveled all over, seen all sorts of presenters. I have seen Carrie Baughcum present. You are such a dynamic presenter, so fun. And again, just like your book, packed full of good tips and suggestions. People leave that room with a wider mind, but also a deeper backpack of ideas to use in their classroom. What would you say is one of your favorite presentations to sort of give?
I mean, I love all of them.
They're a little bit like your children, right? I mean, you do.
They are. It's funny because my favorite to give is kind of like my baby that just hasn't quite grown into it just hasn't been. It's just I feel like it's this diamond and nobody can see that it's a diamond, but I'm just waiting for people to be like, oh my gosh, where has this been hiding? Well, I've been doing it for years, and it's my learning mascots presentation.
Nice.
And so learning mascots is a creature that myself and the teacher friend Dana Ladenberger and I created. And what it is, it's a single image that you can draw over and over and over again that can build your mindset and support visual thinking. And so I have.
Ooh, I am so sorry. We are almost at reflection time, but we're gonna wait. Sorry, finish.
Do I have time?
You do. My bad.
Okay. Because I was talking nice and slow this time.
You were doing an excellent job. So learning mascots, I apologize.
So it's a single image that students can draw. I have worksheets and things that I take people through. They connect with their inner self, and they connect with this one drawing that they can draw over and over again. Like my learning mascot is Stanley the hamster. And so the one thing I love so much about, there's lots of different reasons I love learning mascots, but having this one drawing that students can draw over and over again, it can show up anywhere. And once we learn how to draw this drawing that represents the best parts of the inside of us, it can show up on my social studies worksheet and tell me what it thinks about ancient Greece. It takes away that hesitation that students or adults might have in not knowing what to draw, because if we know how to draw one image over and over again, it's easy to put that down on paper and then connect it with all different kinds of things. And as we've used learning mascots in my classroom, other things have grown in some of the social emotional learning. We've used it to combat negative thinking. Your learning mascot can come back with positive thinking. And it's just become this really wonderful tool that we have in my classroom to use to support sketchnoting and visual thinking, but also whatever else the learning mascot will bring in your classroom.
Awesome. Now we have reached that reflection time. So the quote for today is by Miss Campbell. She is a interior designer from a famous interior design firm. But I love the quote. The quote is, "There is a reason we don't see the world in black and white." How do you spin that?
There's a reason why we don't see the world in black and white.
Ooh, did I stump you?
You did stump me.
Did I stump you?
I
mean, first.
I guess the way I would think about it is color is life, right? So your friends are colors, your job is colors, your family are colors, and they add to our palette, right? So the more we're enriched with creativity and love and family and creativity and connecting with others, the richer our life gets, and the prettier our painting gets, or the more colors we get added to it.
I love it. So that's a pretty similar to what I would say. I would say like the fact that like we see in color, it is there to be had, it is there to be loved, it is there to be used. So as educators, going back to that idea of us being gatekeepers of experience, let's bring color into our classrooms, into our assignments, let it splash all over. All right. So like that's where I would go. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Carrie, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It has been a pleasure having you. Once again, I'm MrMatera, and Well Played Podcast is a part of the On Podcast Media Network. Please check out the website On Podcast Media Network to gain other powerful PD. That's all we have for you today. Play on.